record. Okay. This is Hutch on Hunting, and I'm with Steve Osterholzer. He's the executive director of Mountains and Men, and he's getting ready to head out to the bounding waters. And this is our Friday coaching call, if you will. There, Steve and I talk about leadership, precepts, and concepts. As Steve's running a great organization here in America, where he takes kids out, and we're talking about the Boundary Waters, which is a wonderful wilderness experience. So, Steve, great to be connected with you again, working with you, and let's get back to the Boundary Waters about the next trip coming up. You're taking two groups of 8 kids.
Yeah, we're doing 2 8-day trips, and each trip is going to have 10 kids on there. So we're going to be serving a total of 20 young men, 36 people total in the month of June. So they're going to be going on wilderness canoe trip, something that most of them haven't ever experienced. Most of these kids have never paddled a canoe, they've never caught a fish before, and so we take them on a fully immersive wilderness experience to help give them the skills and confidence that they need on the road to manhood.
Now, let's talk about jump right into leadership. Now, these kids have zero skills, but they're going to come off of that trip with a whole bucket full, duffel bag full of skills. What specifically do you train these kids leadership wise during these trips? How do you transform the experience into leadership skills?
So that's a great question. So concerning skills, understand. So we've got our 8-day experience, okay, and so the first 2 days are spent at base camp outside of Boundary Waters. We've rented a big, huge house, sleeps like 30 people and everything. And during the base camp phase, we're giving them classes. We're teaching them the skills that they're going to need in Boundary Waters. We take them to a local lake and we teach them this is how you paddle. This is a capsize drill. This is how you cast. This is the difference between this is the difference between a crankbait and a spinnerbait. Or teach them how to build a fire, how to navigate with a map and compass, how to do first aid. So those first 2 days are really intensely focused on giving them the skills that they're going to need when they're actually on the water. Then Monday morning we hit the water, and it's a full immersive experience, and they're putting into practice all the skills that they've learned. And when you talk about leadership to me is coupled very closely with confidence, which that's the whole reason why we do these leadership. That's why we do these wilderness adventures, because you know the deal on the road to manhood. Confidence is so important, and confidence comes from skills. And it's really neat seeing their confidence level just blossom. Usually, when the kids show up for our hunts, for all of our different trips, they show up. They're usually kind of quiet, timid, unsure of themselves. But man, they shoot their first elk, or they catch their first walleye that you're talking about. They're able to start a fire on their own, and they realize I am capable. I am becoming a man. I have skills that become a man. You see them just becoming more and more confident. So I think for each of them, their leadership skills, that element of leadership, is going to be increased in all of them. Now, while we're on the trip, you have the natural born leaders, and they're a little bit more confident, a little more outspoken, and so for them, we kind of do some kind of like gentle mentoring on leadership. For example, I might say, okay, if I've got Hutch. Okay, you're just a natural leader. You seem to be a little bit more with it, and I want to groom your leadership skills. Um, you might be paired up, with your buddy in the canoe, and I might tell you and 2 other young men of, okay, Hutch, why don't you lead them to that back cove? Here's the map. Here's where we're at. You take them back there, and you go have fun, and you go fishing. If you're a 15-year-old, you're like, this is like, I've been just handed a great responsibility. I'm responsible not only for the navigation, the safety, what happens if we capsize, not only for myself and my canoe mate, but these other two young men. And so it's really neat with to see them. They'll kind of paddle off, kind of concerned, kind of worried. But man, when they come back 3 hours later, especially if they've caught fish, you watch young Hutch just hear me roar. It's pretty cool.
Now that's the kids. Now, how about your mentors that are on the trips? Because you got, as the director, you've got a lot of levels of leadership that you have to develop for the program of Mountains and Men to work. So, how do you develop the leadership skills in your mentors?
Yep. So another great question. So Boundary Waters limits the group size for to a maximum of 9 people. That's the biggest group that you can have together in Boundary Waters. So our group composition is of that group of 9. We've got 5 young men and 4 adults. The 4 adults consist of a lead guide, an assistant guide, and 2 adult mentors. So the lead guide is someone very experienced. Like I'll be leading one team, and I've got a board member leading another team, and we're doing that on both trips. The assistant guide has been handpicked to basically be my right hand man, okay, and someone I can depend on, count on. If if a storm comes up and it's whitecaps, and a young man's freaking out, not paddling, I can count on that guy to get that kid, safely to shore and talk him down on it. So with both the assistant guide and the 2 adult mentors, the adult mentors are usually they're fairly experienced. I need to have guys I can count on who they're not beginner paddlers. This isn't their first time setting up a tent, right? Because we might get in a situation where we need some strong leadership, some strong decision making skills and stuff. So what I'll do with them to develop their leadership skills is, for example, on these classes, okay, and during skills phase, right? Um, I will take lead on teaching, being the lead instructor for most of the classes, but I'll gradually more and more give my assistant guide responsibility for some of the classes, right? And then when we're actually out on the water, when we're out there, I will start doing that with the mentors after I've had a chance to watch them. I might be like, "Hey, can you give a refresher class on how to start a fire?" And they get all the kids around them and go ahead and start a fire with that. Critical to the whole thing is just what I learned in the military. You've got to give that feedback. You got to give that assessment, right? So, and it's got to be, okay, this is the strengths. These are areas that you can improve upon. So, I've got a lot of experience in critiquing a class and providing feedback on leadership characteristics, because that's what I did in the military, was evaluating people's leadership on a daily basis. So it's a combination of hands-on, um, watching, and then giving them that feedback on the way that they can improve their leadership skills.
So, the question to me, and you're already taking part of it because we're having discussions, what are you doing yourself to increase your leadership skills? Activity, action, all that, you got that in spades because you've been doing that for X number of years in the military. But now we're in a different realm because you got to be able to interface with other board members, bankers, people in development for major corporations that you want money from, and the donors themselves. So you've got to develop and continue to learn how to get those leadership skills so you can pass that on to your board members. You might have a great board member that can put together a great program, but you put him in front of a board asking for $100,000 and he wilts. I mean, it's just, if you haven't done it, you know, wait a minute, 100 grand? Jeez, that's a lot of money. No, that's that's the wrong answer. 100 grand. Here's what we're
Right.
going to do. Of Mountains of Men are going to take that. We're going to be able to cover 50 more kids next year, 10 new projects. We're going to expand it. We just expanded down to gator hunting, yada, 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 yada. Here's our mission. Here's our dream. Here's what we want to do. And we need you to come on board and tell us how best we can help you provide benefit to your company through your giving to of Mountains of Men along those lines. Because everybody can't do that. You know that.
Yep. Yep. Public speaking is the number one fear in America. People would
Yeah,
rather
and
die than do
asking
public speaking.
for a big number, $1 million, asking for $1 million if you've never really been in that room before is a scary thing because you're going, I'm asking these guys for $1 million and I've never earned $1 million. And this happens to a lot of nonprofits. They get people that are mission oriented, they do a great job. But when it comes to interfacing with the people that can move their mission forward, they're completely inept. And
Right.
it's not their fault. It's completely not their fault. They've never been taught, they've never been trained, they've never seen it, they've never seen um I'm just I'm just going black. I was gonna pick a guy, but go in and say, here's my presentation. This is what our mission is, and here's why I'm standing in front of you asking for your help because we're growing men. You need leaders in your corporation, Mr. X. By our program, we might develop that one guy that can be a person of change in your organization down the road. And you'll never know about them until you get involved with us. And then you can see who we're developing, how we're developing, and you can invite them in for an internship. I mean, there's a lot of different ways this can go. But that's a
Yep.
hard thing that I see and the boards I'm worked on. Some guys just want to put a chip on the wall. Hey, I'm a member of this board and that board, and they never did jack. Yeah, they wrote a check. Thank you very much. But board membership is bigger than that. And as the leader of the organization, you've got to grow your board members and at the same time get yourself in the position that you can go when that opportunity presents itself, you can have a really solid conversation with that $1 million donor because you're going to grow. A Mountains of Men is going to grow and your needs are going to grow and the money's out there, but you have to ask for it. Right or wrong.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
And so, that's the thing. And I mentioned before, there's a lot of different college courses, but I rather see you grow organically by finding similar. And we talked about different, fatherless groups, but find a fatherless group that you have some synergy with their executive director and say, how are you doing this? And so you could have these type of calls once a month, once a quarter, or even better yet, create a mastermind group of like kind men and women who are doing similar things and then grow together. And that's strength. That's a lot of strength because each of you will bring a different level, different skill sets to that mastermind group or call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it mastermind because I have been a member of a couple of different masterminds. And, it's powerful because you get people speaking in your life and you're all there for the same reason, to grow your entity.
Right.
Make sense?
Right. Yeah, that all makes sense.
And so that's, thinking about you, that's where we're at because you can read, there's a gazillion books out there and you can read them all, but until you put them in practice and get around the table, the campfire, wherever you want to get around and sit and talk about these things. And then, once a quarter or whatever, get at some off-site resort. Doesn't have to be a resort, it can be any place, someplace outside that you're talking about your entities and how best to serve them. And collectively, you're adding to each other's, life.
Yep, that's all wise counsel. I appreciate all that.
Yeah, and I think in the next 6 months you could develop a couple of those, maybe even get into a mastermind. And it's simple to find nonprofits, fatherless, and start, developing relationships and say, I really like that guy, I really like that gal. And then once you find somebody that you want to spend time with, to say, have you ever thought of mastermind? Sharing ideas once a month on the phone, Zoom meeting, and then maybe once a quarter, every 6 months, we just get together for a day. And then
Yep, we
you don't have the day-to-day pressures. You don't have an agenda except making yourself better so you can make of mountains and men better.
yep, that's exactly what we do in the military every once in a while. Usually semi-annually, you take the whole command team away physically off the flight line. You go to some back country, that kind of thing. And exactly right, saying, okay, you're away from the phones, you're away from the emails, and the whole purpose is vision casting. Okay, where are we at? Where do we want to go, and how do we get there? And it's spitballing ideas. It's basically masterminding, exactly saying, okay, well, how can we leverage each person's strength, each organization's strength?
Right. The only difference, what I'm talking about, these people, maybe they're in the fatherless sandbox.
Yep.
And you had the military, but they're all different in the followers because it's serving different skill sets. We've talked about people like I'm involved with Fathers in the Field. They have a monthly membership or mentorship that continues. Yours is event driven. You're going to do the events and then help grow kids that way. So there's a lot of different ways, but if you talk to enough different people and get a group together that are all different, then you're getting different ideas and how people are doing it, not doing it, where the success is, because we all want in the fatherless business to save lives. Just
Yep.
like I was at Project Healing Waters. I got accredited with them to be a mentor, and I had to go through a day uh, process with that. And they don't call us Project Healing Waters about fly fishing, but I'm not called a guide. I'm a mentor because I might take a guy out and we might never fish.
Yep.
We're sitting on a rock, watching the water go by. It's quiet and just sitting there and maybe not saying anything for a while and just waiting for the right opportunity for that person to feel comfortable enough with me to say, Bruce, I don't get all this stuff. I saw blah, 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 blah. And they got tapes that you and I, well, you've got some tapes too, never want to see again from war. I mean,
Mhm.
it's horrendous. So through Project Healing Waters, if we can get them into an environment, they focus on fishing, but then they have the freedom outside of the VA or any office just to sit and talk. It's huge. And that's what
Yep.
we're doing with fathers, fatherless boys, is helping them man up, helping them find out what Aldrich says, wild at heart, you know, get in touch with your manhood and then go live it, go live the journey.
Yeah, you brought up a good point as far as being able to talk and helping someone feel comfortable. Um, like on the first day of the hunt, I get together, I get the mentors together, and make sure they understand what their role is, right? And I explain to them saying it's not like you're going to get going to go off and sit in chairs facing each other and saying, okay, let's talk about Jesus. Let's talk about masculinity, right? It's like, the deal. Guys do not feel comfortable sitting around. A lot of women like this, but guys do not feel comfortable sitting around in chairs looking at each other in a support group. we feel most comfortable talking when we're doing something, right? Whether it's fishing and you're sitting on the rock, right? So for our guides, for the mentors and stuff, it may just be a casual, okay, hey, it's Saturday morning, they're over, they're on a mesa, they're glassing for elk, and the mentor can just ask the young man, say, okay, during that campfire talk last night, when Steve was talking about how we are warriors. God built men and women different. God built us to be warriors. We need to be a tender warrior, but we need to be a warrior. What'd you think about that? How do you feel about your level of being ready to be a warrior, right? And so whether that happens glassing for elk, whether it's bouncing along in the truck, whether it's at the range, like I encourage all my guides to take their kids shooting. I match them up a couple of months beforehand and encourage all the guides to take their young man to the range, and so yes, they're getting be more proficient marksmen, but they're also, that gives an opportunity, to talk about how things are going. I'm really excited about Boundary Waters this year because think of the conversation opportunities that are going to happen in the canoe between an adult mentor, and a 13-year-old teenage boy whose dad is in jail for sexually abusing him, right? That kid's got a lot of wounds. And so that might be the only time that the kid ever feels comfortable talking about it is while paddling at sunset after a great day of fishing. So I'm really looking forward to these opportunities that God's going to provide these young men to really talk about whatever's on their hearts, just like you have in Healing Waters and Fathers in the Field.
Yeah, and this is important. So, what's your biggest challenge right now? Leadership challenge of Mountains of Men. So, what would you identify 3 of your biggest challenges right now that you face on the leadership side of the ledger?
That's easy. Okay, got a perfect example of it. We touched on this a little bit. My biggest challenge is OMM is growing so fast, and we have so many great opportunities where people are coming to us. I told my board, I said, we're really reaching tipping point. If you've ever read the book Tipping Point,
I got it right here.
fantastic book. Okay, well then, yeah. So we're speaking the same language there. I said we're reaching the point where for the first, for our first 4 years, it was us going out and seeking donations. It was us approaching outfitters and trying to get people to provide opportunity. We've now reached a point where the opportunities are coming to us and people saying, I believe in what you're doing. This is what I'm offering up to you. And that's happening so rapidly that my biggest leadership challenge right now is how do I grow OMM the right way? Right? What is the right way? Okay, I do not want to become one of these organizations that grows too fast, too big, too fast, where we're compromising quality for quantity. That's not who we are. That's not what we do. And so with every opportunity that arises, I have to look at it and saying, okay, does OMM, do we have the leadership ability to be able to do this trip right? Do I have board members that have enough time? They have full-time jobs, full-time families. Is this something that we can handle? Right? What's the transportation commitment? What's the cost commitment going to be? Because I want these. The feedback that we always get from our trips is, "Wow, this totally blows away anything I've ever done. You guys are so professional, and what you are delivering is such a life-shaping, high-level adventure. I need to maintain that reputation." So, like 2 quick examples. So we had, we've got we've been doing our hunting trips for like 4 years now. I mentioned this coming June, we're launching our Boundary Waters trips, 20 young men. Our third type of trip all along has been winter adventure trip, and we're launching that next March. And I've got 2 of my board members, they're co-trip leaders. And so we're going to be taking about a half dozen young men in the mountains of New Mexico, and they're going to be learning how to build snow caves and spend the night inside of them, how to ice fish, how to snowmobile, and why we're on why we're on that winter adventure. We're going to be doing our campfire talks at night, talking about manhood. Well, so I have been basically all along been saying we are not going to add any new trips until we've got these core 3 trips up and operational. We're now at that point. So just like 2 months ago, I got approached by one of the guys that I guide with for Tri-State Outfitters. Guy's name is Ben, and he lives in Florida and he guides for a gator hunting operation. And he was telling the owner all about Mountains of Men, and the owner said, "Hey, I really believe in what you guys are doing. I would like to offer up doing gator hunts for kids." So when my buddy approached me, he said, "Hey, he wants to do this." I had to look at it saying, do we have the time? Do we have the resources? Not going to be having problems getting kids to go gator hunting. That'll take care of itself. And I looked at it, and it was such a limited commitment that I said, okay, we have the capacity to do this right now. So I accepted. I said, okay, so next next August 9th, 2025, we're going to have 4 young men and 4 mentors going to be gator hunting down in Florida, right? So in that case, I said, yes, we can do this. Contrast, one of the gentlemen that I met last week at the expo, great guy named Josh from Budge's Lodge. What Budge's Lodge is, they take people in the White River National Forest here in Colorado. They put them on horseback. They horseback them in like 5 miles into this gorgeous lodge in the mountain, and they do professional level fly fishing operations. Right? I mean, this lodge is fantastic. This isn't a wall tent, with an Army MRE. This is a gourmet chef and a huge lodge. People pay many thousands of dollars to do it. And so Josh got a hold of me and said, I talked to the owner. He wants to be involved. We want to offer up trips starting next summer. And I had to look at it and go, we just I don't have the resources. It's going to happen this summer. I'm in Boundary Waters leading the trips. All of my board members are trip organizers for other trips of what we're doing. There's so many challenges. It's like we're not set up right now to do that. And so on one hand, as I was emailing them yesterday, I was like, I can't believe I'm turning down all expenses paid, horseback riding, fly fishing in the mountains of Colorado. But I know that's the right thing for us right now. It would not go well because I don't have the resources. So I basically said, can we just push it off a year? We're very, very grateful. Hopefully in 2026. And he said, yes, absolutely love that. He might actually guide for us on the hunt. So that's my biggest challenge right now is I've got so many opportunities, so many doors are opening. I need to know which ones to run through, which ones to close, and which ones to say, I'll look at maybe going through that door another time. So that's my biggest leadership challenge is resources of time, finances, and opportunity to ensure we're still keeping things at a high level. That's a long-winded explanation, but people can understand that's my biggest leadership challenge.
So you identified a couple of things, really. You need to duplicate yourself. You should be
Yep.
looking at raising money, keep doing what you're doing, getting exposure at these expos, and taking that step by step, strategically thinking, where can I get the most bang for my buck by piggybacking with somebody else at the booth, whatever, and get the word out. And you're the guy. Secondly, I would go to the Elk Foundation and the Mule Deer, and when dollars and time allows, go to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation National, the Sheep Society National, Safari Club International, Dallas Safari Club International. Why? Because there's money there, a lot of money.
Yep.
And so here's who we are, here's what we're doing. And you can go to the directors of these things, say, here's who we are. Could you help us get the word out? couple of guys, they give you a booth. They just give you the booth. So you got to show up, tell your story, get the business cards, and come home. Then figure out, okay, what does this mean to us? Because we need money and we need manpower. I was just thinking about that fly fishing guide. I'm going, dang, I almost interrupted you and said, call him back. Call him back because I'll do it. And, I can do that in spades with my experience and everything. I can take 4 kids on horses to a lodge because it's not, it's as wonderful a setup as you can get. And you just need somebody to set it up, to be in charge, and to do it. I'd love to do that.
Okay, you and I will talk offline then.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. And so, again, you cast vision, you go to somebody that has the skill sets and said, hey, I just had this guy call me, and Bob, with your skill sets, can you find 5 to 10 days in July to take a group of kids up? And here's the deal, boom, boom, boom. And it's like, oh my goodness, there's not much work there because I'm not doing the work. I'm making sure of Mountains of Men brand is rock solid. And that type of program, and there's hundreds of those. There's just opportunity. But getting back to what I said initially is you've got to duplicate yourself. So you're raising money, you're making connections, and you're developing the Of Mountains and Men brand. Because you're not going to be able to do it all. It's
Right,
not
and I
going to happen.
realize that, and I've actually got a plan in place. I'm just waiting for the certain funding threshold to pull the trigger. What I need to do, I need to get out of operations. As much as I love planning and
And
running
we
these
talked
trips,
about that last time.
right, right. So it's like I already know, the person I want to hire, how it would all work and everything. And so we're talking about what's our funding threshold before I go to our board, with a proposal on that. Because you're exactly right. My time needs to be spent thinking strategically and going to these organizations and going to these folks and asking for millions of dollars because
Yeah. We're
I'm the
talking
face of
millions
the
of dollars. We're
organization.
not talking about $100, $1,000, millions of dollars. So you can have this program from New England all the way up to Alaska. I mean, that's
Yep,
big. And I'm, you know, making it really big by saying from New England to Alaska, but that's what these kiddos need.
yep,
They need an opportunity to go up to Alaska, jump in a raft, and row 100 miles.
yep,
I mean,
exactly.
that's life changing, and that's leadership because Alaska can flat out kill you. I mean, it's serious stuff. So there'd have to be an age limit. But when I rode Alaska, a couple of times I did it, myself and my buddy. I mean, the float plane dropped you off. And he says, I'll see you in 10 days. That's it.
Yep. Good
You
luck,
better have
Godspeed.
you better have your kit together.
Yep, exactly. Because maybe you came out of that so much more confident and capable because of that experience that you had.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's life changing. Even for a guy like me that's been doing it for 50 some years, and I did that, I don't know how many years ago. We did that the first trip. Then we went back and we went caribou hunting, and we went back and did it again because it was so much fun. We are catching, rainbows and kings, and it was just unbelievable. But you have to have the confidence to say, yeah, I can get dropped off, picked up, and I'm going to make it out of here
Yep,
one way
that's
or another. And that
that's
doesn't
what
happen the first time.
yep, that's what we're seeking to instill in these young guys.
You take a kid up to the bounty wars, and not that I say I want it to happen, but one of the best things that could happen is them to flip over and they figure it out and they self-rescue and they go, holy fright, look what I just did.
Yep.
And it's scary. I'm not saying that. You're saying, Bruce, I wish you didn't say that, but
I
our
understand
greatest,
why you're saying that, and I agree 100%. I know where you're going with this.
yeah, because our greatest failures, even for yourself, are our greatest teachers and make us stronger. And that we can go off biblically on that, you know, you know, for the people in the Bible that get hammered, but then at the right time, right place, they conquered.
Yep, exactly.
But they had the preparation to do it.
Yep. And they had a mentor, somebody, somebody to invest in them. It's like, I mean, you know the deal, big game hunting and how to go wilderness, canoeing and stuff. You can't learn that from YouTube,
No,
right? I mean, you can read all the books you want and stuff, but
no.
until you're in that water with the capsized canoe, you're like, okay, this I'm the only person that can figure this out. Um, you know that experience is the best teacher, and it's so much easier if you have a mentor, if you have a guide to show you, to teach you these skills and help, and develop on the road to manhood. And that's really what we're trying to do with the Mountains of Men, is take teenage boys who don't have that father, don't have that mentor, that compass, and try to give them some direction, and leadership, and just investing in them to show that they care. And they come away with a whole bunch of skills and things to think about, and knowing that, yeah, there are a lot of great people in this world who really do care about me.
And we started the show, we talked about skills, leadership skills. And the only way you get them is for trial and error. And the biggest skills I learned in corporate America is when I failed. It
Yep.
was painful, but it made me stronger. I didn't ever, that never happened again. And the people I was responsible for knew I grew.
Yep.
So
Couldn't
my
agree more.
credibility went up. So we're at your stop. I know you got another meeting at 11. So
Sure do.
pardon me?
Yep. I'm saying sure do.
Okay. So with that, this is Bruce Hutchin with Steve Osterholzer, of Executive Director of Mountains of Men, talking about leadership. Thanks for listening, folks.